Howdy, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Hope y'all doing okay today. So, I want to tell you a couple funny stories that I've had happen over the years related to really bad weather and my workplace commute. So, first one would have happened in like February of 2015. Time I was working at a automotive vendor manufacturer. Essentially, we didn't build the cars, we built parts for the cars. We had contracts with Ford mainly in that particular building, built a handful of other. Whoa, buddy, that was an interesting maneuver that almost got you hit. Dude just cut across a lane of traffic with no turn signal to jump into the turning lane, which was occupied, and had to stand on his brakes while cutting across my lane with no turn signal. Okay, sorry about that. We had two contracts with Ford out of this particular plant, as well as a contract with Toyota for a handful of parts for the Tacoma. I think we built F-150 and Expedition frames out of this particular plant. We did the welding and the E-coating there, and then we shipped the frames off to the various plants. Anyway, when I hired on there, they said you have 90 days probation, and when you're on your probationary period, you can't have AWOLs unless it's for a darn good reason. Me and a couple other guys there, like, well, we've got kids on the way, we're obviously not gonna be there when our kids are born. They're like, no, don't worry about that, but like, you can't call in sick or something, you gotta be there. Okay, that I can do. I think there was 1 or 2 days that this happened. We got like 8 to 10 inches of snow. Now, I've always had a 4-wheel drive sitting in the driveway. I've always been able to get where I need to go when weather's an issue. I'll come into work. Ice is another thing, but snow, I'll be there. Might be late, but I'll be there. Well, my wife was 5-6 months pregnant at the time. She's like, I'm staying at the house with the kids. I'm not driving in this crap. You go to work. I'll be here when you get home. Okay. Jump in the truck, fire it up, straight into 4-wheel drive. The road that I lived on at the time was the second busiest street in town. Big 4-lane U.S. highway, actually, that ran through the middle of town. And so it was impossible to to clean my driveway, because no matter how good I got it, the plow trucks would always come up and build a nice big foot and a half tall wall of snow to get out. So my car ended up sitting in the driveway for a week, because there's no way it would have gotten out of the driveway. So, jump in the truck. Work was 5 minutes down the road. Go to work. No big deal. Get to work, and there were 4 assembly lines there that built the actual frames. They had 4 separate lines that built the exact same frames. They all ran a little different, but they built the same product. Basically, the only one that was different was the one that built the Expedition frames. And then, of course, you had stamping and machining areas, and drill press areas, and welding areas, and material handling areas, and on and on and on. But anyway, essentially what ended up happening, there was enough people that showed up to run one of those lines. So they ended up moving everybody off their home line into this area to get the lines running. They showed us how to do the work. We take off working. But even then, they weren't fully staffed. So some people are doing 2 or 3 jobs, not working at a breakneck pace, just trying to get stuff done. And what ended up happening with me is, since I didn't know exactly what we were doing, they said, here, you're feeding parts into these machines. The robots will pick them up, weld them together. All you got to do is just keep the robots loaded. Okay, that I can do. And we didn't do very much all night long. I was being 100% honest on my phone a good bit of the time, because once I load up the robots, there's nothing for me to do except to wait on them to cycle. Well, that was interesting enough. I get back home, and My wife's asleep on the couch. She's glad to see me home safe. My work was, 5 miles down the road. I pull up in the driveway. What's really funny is there's dudes on side-by-sides. In my state, it is illegal to drive anything other than a car and a moped and a motorcycle on public roads. You cannot drive a four-wheeler on public roads unless you're either going like 0.2 of a mile down the road, so you're like allowed to cross it to, like, if the road cuts through your property, you're allowed to be on the road then to stay on your property, or if it has a SMV tag or is being used as a farm implement. You cannot just joyride your four-wheeler down the road, like, hey, I'm going to run to the store real quick, I'll just take the four-wheeler. You can't do that. What was funny is there's guys on four-wheelers and side-by-sides while it's 15 degrees outside and snowing like crazy, going to work on their four-wheelers and side-by-sides with big cardboard signs zip-tied up to the back of them, like, can't call into work, I only have a car. So I thought that was pretty comical. Well, anyway, another good story. This was working up at the Ford factory. This one day I knew it was going to snow. I'd already bought a set of very gently used tires this year. This would have been like January, February of 16, so the following year. I knew there was a snowstorm coming. I bought a set of used tires. Guy bought a brand new truck. Didn't like the way the truck rode on these tires. Went and bought another set of tires. So I've got a set of tires with 10,000 miles on them that are new for about half the price. So I knew this snowstorm was coming in. Jump in my truck, throw the tires in the bed, go to the tire mounting store, get these tires mounted real quick. I'd called my buddies I was carpooling with at the time. They don't want to go to work. They're all calling in. Okay, I'm not calling in. I don't know nobody. I didn't know very much at the time about where I worked as far as how easy it was to get a day off. So I'm going into work. Jump in the truck, take off to work. And the visibility was lousy. And the roads were soaking wet. And you kept getting that brine stuff thrown up in your face off the wheels of the 18-wheelers, but not really having an issue. Running a little slow down the interstate due to the poor visibility. But other than that, not having an issue. I only spun tires one time going to work, and it was on the side streets. It was in two-wheel drive. I'm coming up to a red light that is red. I'm just coasting. I want to save brakes in case I need them. It's uphill. And the light turns green. I just barely tip into the throttle, and I'm going just slow enough that my automatic transmission decides you need to downshift, and that's when it spun. Lift off just a little bit, and it hooked right back up, and I go on to work. Get up to work, get parked, walk into the building, and basically me and like 300 other people showed up. Now, that sounds like a lot of people, but you got to bear in mind this place averages 2,200 a shift, so not a lot of people. So we stand around for an hour and 50 minutes-ish, and they end up sending us home. So I get up there. I didn't do much of anything all night long. We were playing poker, waiting on any word on what we were going to end up doing the rest of the shift. Go on. They tell us to go home. I'm like, bye. So we head on out the door. I go out, dust my truck off, get on the road home. I went past a couple people that had run off on the opposite lanes of the interstate. Didn't have any problems. Again, just slow and steady. Make it home, and my wife was still awake when I got home, which I was on night shift at the time, so that never happened. I'd get home before she woke up most days. I just thought it was funny how many people called into work, and my truck's not anything impressive off-road. It's not lifted. It's a stock ride height, completely stock with the exception of the exhaust. 01 F-150 Super Crew 4-wheel drive with the 5.4. That's all it is. Decent enough truck off-road, factory for what it is. But I just jumped in, Took my time, made it to work, no problem. And then in this little 1 liter 3-cylinder Focus, I've made it to work in about 8 inches of snow. Just keep enough speed to blow you through any little drifts you might get. Don't stop, just keep moving. Be fine. Take your time. You're gonna be fine. Made it to work in this. It snowed overnight while I was there, and freezing rain. And my wife said, "Don't come home." So I ended up packing an overnight bag, staying at a hotel that was 2.5 miles from work, and it took me 45 minutes to get there because of the traffic that was congested because people don't know how to drive in slippery conditions. So that was awesome. Anyway, just some interesting weather-related commute stories I figured I'd share. Hope y'all doing okay. Stay safe. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch y'all next time.